This is the Our Town with Troy By, where I have interesting conversations with interesting people across North Alabama and beyond. Continue to like, subscribe, rate the show, spread the word. Appreciate your support. Going forward, as you've noticed in the last couple of episodes, I'm going to break them into part 1, part 2, maybe a part 3, if the initial interview was extended duration of time. And so basically what you will see is on Spotify, YouTube, all of the platforms, you'll have at least that part 1, part 2, which serve as the main content. On YouTube, you have the segments, which will span anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, where we just isolate a topic area. Then, of course, when we promote the episodes on social media, whether that's on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook, those are just clips, usually targeted around the 1 minute mark. So as far as content, we have clips, we have the segments, which were exclusively going to be found on YouTube. And then, of course, the episodes themselves are going to now be broken up into part 1s and part 2s. So today is part 2 of episode 70 with Erica Despain of All Things Madison. We start out the episode talking about her upbringing here in Madison, moving from South Huntsville. Her family did to Madison, going to Bob Jones High School, some of her interactions with their friends. And then we get into the fun story of meeting her husband. Ultimately, they get married, but they moved the wedding up by 18 months, in which her father took to the internet and wrote a blog about it. So we had a good discussion on that. Then Erica had a really awesome experience where she worked for a nonprofit cause called Rachel's Challenge. Rachel Scott was the first victim killed in the Columbine shooting. And Erica had the unique opportunity to travel the country on behalf of that nonprofit and speak to groups of students. I learned a lot about Erica in part 2. I'll refer you back to part 1 if you haven't had a chance to check it out, particularly at the end where we talk about the near drowning experience of their daughter Hadley and what her and her husband have done in response to that related to CPR and ISR. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. And thanks again for your viewership. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that period of time. I think it was when your parents moved here from New York City.
Yeah.
And they were
I'm
living
so impressed with your research, by the way. It's awesome.
Yeah. They were living in South Huntsville.
Yes.
And at some point, your mom comes across Madison. There's nothing west of Waltriana at the time. There was a few stoplights.
Right.
And there was nothing there.
Right. 565 was brand new.
Right.
Which is unfathomable, honestly.
And so talk me through, I know you ended up loving your childhood there, but was there a little bit at the beginning of apprehension kind of coming? Now, you may not have had a lot of memories of New York City.
Yeah.
Maybe some. Maybe, a year of your life?
So I actually never lived there.
You never
My
did.
parents moved here when they were pregnant with me.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So they
Fair
were
enough.
brand new to the South and brand new parents. So
Somehow I got 5. For some reason, I thought you were 5.
I lived in South Huntsville, which was just thriving.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was 7, almost 8, they moved us to super quiet Madison. And I
Okay.
remember it really well.
What did you guys do as kids?
I had the best neighborhood in
Did
the
you?
entire world. It was a new construction neighborhood, and that just meant there was a ton of young families.
Yeah.
So every house on my cul-de-sac had elementary or middle school kids. So we just had a ball. So I wouldn't say there was a whole lot to do in Madison as far as like businesses to go to or classic entertainment, but we just hung out together, walking to Discovery Middle School, going to all the athletic events. We actually had, so Asbury Church there on Hughes, the
Right.
youth group was humongous. Like everybody was a part of it because they did really fun stuff. So honestly, that was kind of our hangout. Like that big youth room on Hughes Road, that was where we hung out after prom, after football games. We just had a ball.
They have like 3 or 4 buildings over there, right?
Yeah, Asbury's huge. But I think their youth is still pretty strong, but it was a
Yeah.
popular place to hang, which no parent dislikes, right? When your kids are hanging out at church. So.
Now, I know there's a farmer's market off Hughes.
Yeah.
Is that
at Trinity Baptist.
Were those types of things popping up?
No.
And they weren't at all?
No, it was quiet. Bob Jones was being built when we moved here. So it really was just like quintessential small town. And you know what? Huntsville was small too.
Yeah.
When we moved back here 5 years ago, I mean, I've still had to figure out on my GPS how to get to downtown Huntsville because we never went to downtown Huntsville besides to walk around Big Spring Park. There wasn't the cool restaurants and stuff that there is now. So as much as Madison's evolved, Huntsville has at the same speed.
Sure. Were you fishing in the creeks and...
Oh gosh, we went
just
to some
dirty
like
and...
land parties. Like some people would have land. You just go hang in the land and ride four-wheelers. I mean, some of my friends had boats, so we would go out in the Tennessee River and learn to ski, and we just had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So,
I remember one time in high school, I lived in like suburban Northern Virginia, kind of near Dulles Airport, which is Virginia's gone through its same growth that reminds me of the growth going on here, right?
Okay. So pretty close to DC.
Yeah, and I remember same thing of people talking to people who have been here for a while. Like, I remember when there was no 565. Well, if you've ever been to DC, like, I remember when the toll road was being built.
Right.
And now, there was no metro train out to Tyson's Corner, type thing.
Yeah.
And there was one building, like one high rise between like the airport and like 20 miles away. Type thing. Now it's just, totally different story. But
for sure,
we met these girls. Like we worked at like this retirement home, my buddy and I, like in the kitchen. And they were at a crosstown rival school, and so we didn't really want it to like make it known that we knew we were like hanging out with these girls that went to this other school, like they would be sworn enemies.
Right.
But they all lived like further out and had land. And one day they invite me and my buddy over. Yeah. And we were just used to, I don't know, going to the movies, and I mean we had mopeds and stuff we'd ride around, but we weren't used to fishing and riding four-wheelers, and so we hung out with these girls one Saturday, and it changed my life. Yeah. Like I was like, this is fun.
This is fun.
And these girls were
like,
like,
get your adrenaline going. Yeah.
These girls are talking about going hunting, and they want to know if we want to go like geese hunting. I'm like, wow, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Yeah, right. This rural life, rural activities. Yeah, it's fun.
And then you said that where was the Sonic when they built that?
Oh gosh, so this Sonic on 72 that was by the old Chick-fil-A. I remember when that was built. So we were 15, and that was where a handful of my girlfriends all worked. And then we would go hang out there because they'd be on their roller skates if they wanted to be. And it was just where we hung out. I just think back to those simple times. And honestly, I see it actually a lot at the Sonic on County Line Road. A lot of the kids from James Clemens, that's where they go hang out. It's where they work. So, I mean, it's nice proximity-wise to still have some of the the newer Sonics or the newer this, because it's good, innocent fun to just go hang out.
I couldn't have imagined like leaving my school grounds and having a Wendy's like right there and a Sonic.
So true.
And now the other, like McDonald's isn't far away.
Right. Yeah.
I guess if you're skipping school, that's probably the first place you're going to go.
You're going to get some food.
And look, right?
Yeah, you're going to get a Sonic
So were
blast.
your friends hooking you up with some ice cream and some freebies and stuff every now and then?
Oh, for sure. Well, and it's funny. I worked at Outback Steakhouse when that opened, which isn't far from that Sonic on 72. So we'll go to Sonic to support those friends, and then they come to Outback to support me. They're probably spending a little bit more money at that Outback. But we all just worked at all the new food places as they were opening up, and it was fun. It was good. Yeah.
So then similarly, like just fast forwarding a little bit, when you like leave high school and you have big dreams, you go to Alabama. Oh yeah. But did you at all then have a different perspective though on those people that seemingly were never going to make it or make it out of town? Yeah. And it's not necessarily like you have to leave Huntsville. Sure. Although that probably went through a lot of people's minds. And I've talked about it with a few guests where they felt, and I felt that, like you had to just go away to college to be successful, right? You had to get out of your hometown. But did you start looking at that maybe in your late teens, early 20s, as far as like, these people are still just going through the same high school motions. They're hanging out at Sonic. They're going to Outback. Like, I hope that they can pick themselves up and do something with their life.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes total sense. I honestly feel like everybody kind of did get out of town for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody went off and went to Auburn or Alabama or UNA, UAB. Everybody kind of got out of town, but then would all come back at Thanksgiving, at Christmas, and we were so happy to be back. And so, I mean, and it was like I was saying earlier, a lot of people that I grew up with live here now. I was just at Publix a couple days ago, ran into a guy from high school who I've also seen serving at a really upscale restaurant in town. So yeah, I don't think ever staying here or moving back here has ever really been viewed as a negative thing, like maybe it would in other towns.
Yeah.
Just because there's good opportunity here. I mean, when we got out of the military, I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but we could have started over anywhere. And we chose here very intentionally, so and have not looked back.
Yeah, and I guess I just can't wrap my mind around how rare that is. Because most people I encounter and that you become friends with and you talk about their upbringing, most people were like, oh, I'm so glad I got out of there.
Yeah.
And they didn't necessarily look at their hometown as somewhere they wanted to come back to.
Yeah.
And
I don't feel like that's how people view this place.
Yeah, they don't.
I don't think, I mean, sure, of course you have some, but.
I think Joey Cece, who I just had on I released it
shout
last
out
week.
to Joey.
You know Joey?
Oh, great guy.
Well, he was talking about how, sorry, my shoulder's itching.
You're good.
He was talking about how this town has always been so welcoming of new ideas and new people. And like, he's like, Mayor Battle's from Birmingham. You know, like Mayor Finley's from Kentucky.
Right.
He's like, you know, if you're in Mobile, if you're not born under the right magnolia bush, you're not running for mayor.
Yeah.
If your dad wasn't on the Mardi Gras, you know, committee.
So true.
You're not doing this or doing that.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, even the people who've just been here years and years, they want new ideas. They want to push this culture in a way, right? That's unique. That's truly unique to Huntsville.
For sure.
And we're not just saying that to give it lip service, right?
No.
I mean, we like truly believe it.
I've built a whole career around it. You have too, right?
I'm trying.
Like, right, exactly. I mean, we love it here. And I think, I mean, we've lived all over at this point, and you're not from here, right? Like, you've lived in other places too. So you can start to see the differentiators between a community. And for me, as I get older, I look at how do I live my life Monday through Friday? As far as just those little things. I don't need a beach in my backyard. I don't need to have the world's best children's museum 2 miles. Like, why? So I can go to that once a year? I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
What I care about is just, can I get my kid to swim lessons 5 minutes down the road?
Yeah.
Can we hit up some awesome places to eat and drink and go watch a baseball game? I mean, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to teach my kids a lot. Like, you never want to operate on any extreme of the continuum. Like, like, yeah, it's fun to go to the beach.
Right.
But just step back and think about it.
Sure.
You really don't want to live here all year.
Right.
And it's no knock against, some people choose that.
For sure.
Or why don't we go skiing more or something? Like, even if you had access to it, you wouldn't want to do it every day.
Sure.
You know, arguably.
Right.
So,
the majority of people. Fun to vacation.
Yeah.
Then you come home.
So, you know, to me, it's like live somewhere where, you know, you can drive. It's not that far to go to a lake or to a beach.
Right.
Or if you really want to go to the mountains.
Yes.
But a lot of times we get caught up in what we think is this ideal way of living, you know, or even if it's, I really wish we lived closer to the mall. Like, you're not going to go all the time
right.
to the mall.
Right. And like, what would be the price of that?
Speaking of the mall, though,
sure.
I'm assuming you went to the mall that was down where Mid-City is now, and
Madison Square Mall.
Madison.
Oh, that was where we grew up. It devastated my mom when they tore that place down.
Because that was your movie theater, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was the movie theater. There was a Lone Star Steakhouse where the camp now is. That was like my first serving job. I mean,
and Lone Star's where you dropped the peanuts on the floor. Did they?
Was it? No, that's Texas Roadhouse.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think they have Lone Stars anymore. It wasn't the It wasn't the nicest establishment. I learned and saw a lot of things at that restaurant. So that's gone.
Yeah.
Mid-City's there. I actually just had a meeting with a lot of the people over at Mid-City yesterday. What an incredible community. I know that's not Madison, but it's 5 minutes from Madison, and the concepts they have over there are so cool.
Were you meeting with RCP?
RCP was
Like
there.
Nadia?
Yeah. RCP was there, so we can dive into it. But we have some cool things with All Things Madison that are brewing that I was meeting with them about.
Well, let's park that and come back to it.
Okay, sounds good.
So I do want to touch on a few things.
Sure.
First is just to literally dive into your passion for writing.
Yeah.
And when did that truly start for you? Did you write for the school newspaper?
I did.
You did.
I was the assistant editor for the Patriot Pages.
But that desire probably started before that, right?
For sure. Yeah, I was writing. I had my first book I wrote in elementary school that I remember typing on our massive desktop.
Mm-hmm. What was it about?
A family. It was a family that I think got in a car accident and I don't know. It was trauma. I've always been interested in like deep topics. And then I was an intern, the Huntsville Times, the big newspaper at the time. They had teen guest contributors. So I was accepted and wrote for them in my 9th and 10th grade years, which was so cool because it gave me an experience to actually be published in something that would be read by other people. And I loved that.
And then the school, newspaper helped you, or the school kind of helped set that up for you?
No, I sought that out on my own.
Look at you.
Yeah, I sought that out on my own when I was in 9th or 10th grade, and then wrote for the Patriot Pages at Bob Jones in 11th and 12th grade. I was done with school sports after 9th grade. I never really had like one sport I was super good at. So I just dove into all things writing and media and SGA. I loved student government. And so,
what was your office in SGA?
Yeah, I was secretary for 3 years, and then I was president council my senior year, which was fun. I think I'm just a people person. I love people's stories. Like I come here today and I'm like, tell me all things about our town. Like, how did the idea come from? Like, all of the equipment is so impressive. I just love people's stories. And so to have a reason to ask people questions and then turn it into something physical, like an article or a website or a piece of content, is just, I geek out over it.
Yeah. Did you write a journal?
No, I wasn't really a journal girl, but I did do the Blogger. So blogger.com, that launched like 2007, 2008. So everybody had a blog, and I did too. And I just was one of those girls that never stopped. I never stopped writing.
Yeah. And then your homecoming queen.
Oh, right, you did some research.
You know what's was hard about you?
Yeah.
I actually didn't find as much as I thought I would.
Okay.
Which is
good.
Yeah, I mean that's a good thing.
It means I'm actually not a Madison celebrity at all, which is what I would prefer.
I normally pride myself. Well, no, I would say pre 2010. Anything after that, of course, it's Erica Despain's all over the place.
Well, I got married in 2011.
Oh, I know. Even under your maiden name.
Because I really did kind of fly under the radar.
Yeah.
I mean, just high school, college.
Well, I couldn't even find like you were an all-state cheerleader or some all-state cheerleading team. No,
I did all-star cheer, but I was younger, like middle school, early high school.
So it's interesting, where the internet wasn't as prevalent as like catching things, or even if you had a local newspaper, maybe they weren't digitizing.
Sure.
But I've had other guests that like let's say they went to like Auburn in like 1993.
Yeah.
And you find like for some reason that yearbook is available.
Yeah.
And then you would seemingly have another guest that went to Auburn, and then you can't find it.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? So it's like, or you just have a common name.
Sure.
But so did you cheerlead?
I just did. Yeah. I cheered at Discovery and did 1 year at Bob Jones.
Okay. So after ninth grade, there wasn't any more of that.
Yeah, no, that was when I really plugged into all the clubs. I just like being involved, like doing all the things. And so that's what I like to do in high school. It's just,
so did that pretty much carry over into college then when you hit
No, I was humbled in college because I did all this leadership stuff in high school and then go to Alabama. And I'm like, I'm immediately going to be this capstone men and women, which is those are like your premier ambassadors at your 40,000 student school. I was immediately going to get selected for that. I was going to do all of these things and immediately realize, oh, I am a very small fish with a lot of people who are way more accomplished than I am here at college. So that was a good dose of humble pie that I needed.
Was somebody warning you that was going to happen, or it was just naturally?
I was confident. I was going to go in and do my thing, and yeah. So no, in college I was an AOPI in the sorority, so met some of my very best friends in the sorority. Studied journalism, media, but honestly, I met my husband halfway through my sophomore year of college and lost some of my interest to do all the things because I was dating my husband and we were going to get married and kind of knew it. Yeah. So you lose the interest to do all the things.
Even though you weren't really interested at all at the initial prospect of meeting Jamie.
No, I was not interested at all. I was going to marry a guy. I was going to go to Alabama, meet a guy at church who was maybe a fraternity boy, because that would mean he's social, and who is an engineer, and then we're going to move back to Huntsville and live happily ever after. Yeah. This is how my mind works. That didn't happen, which is just, I mean, it's just funny. Like, who plans their life that
But tell that story of how, like, there was this someone, like a friend of yours.
My sister.
It was your sister.
My sister was dating her high school sweetheart from Bob Jones.
Okay.
And she always used to go up to West Point. They were at West Point at the time. She always used to go up to West Point for their class balls. And I was jealous. And so my now brother-in-law, who's the biggest jokester in the entire world and loves to push my buttons, he called his best friend, Jamie, who's now my husband, and he's like, oh, hey, my girlfriend has a sister. You want her to come? And he called his mom. She bought my plane ticket because my mother-in-law, she'll tell you now, like, she was so excited that he was actually going to have a date. So I flew up there in a whim with my sister for a fun weekend in New York. And
what did he have planned for you? Because I remember reading this.
Yeah.
And this, what's hard about, because you're a writer and a blogger, I mean, there's so much stuff that you could potentially talk about, right? We could talk for 100 hours.
About every topic.
About all these things.
Yeah.
And so stumbling upon that story, like, okay, that's pretty cool. And I think there was some trepidation on his part. He's never met you.
Yeah.
And now, not only has he ever met you, this isn't like just going to Sonic and then hitting the movie theater.
Oh, no.
There's like a whole weekend.
Oh, whole weekend.
So what did he have planned for you?
It was fun. I mean, we had a big rental house with a lot of the other cadets, which was really fun because there were all these girls in a similar situation of like, this is so weird and fun. But I mean, he had a corsage for me for the dance. It was just such a gentleman in knowing that like, this is so bizarre, but he kind of wanted to sweep me off my feet. So it was fun. I went back to college and was like, well, I'm supposed to just be here and meet my Alabama boy. And like, now I got this guy in New York, so, and I don't want to marry anyone in the military, but best laid plans.
How soon into that trip did you start?
That was January of 2008, and then we graduated college in 2010.
No, but like when you went to that weekend, how soon into that weekend did you think, okay, there's something here? There's some
immediately.
Spark. Immediately.
Yeah, immediately. We were both like, uh-oh. We're in trouble.
So
then he flew down to Alabama to see his family in Birmingham.
Okay.
President's Day weekend. That was 3 weekends later. And that was when we're like, all right, let's give this a try. So
is he like a Vestavia Hills guy? Like what's
Hoover.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was a part of his senior class, had a big documentary on MTV, which was huge at the time because MTV was like all the rage. So
I'm old enough. Yeah. And you weren't even alive.
Yeah.
when I saw like the first video on MTV.
Really?
At my buddy's house. I think it was 1983, 82.
That's fun. Okay, and yeah, MTV was all the rage,
what
right?
Was it, the Buggles? I think it was the Buggles.
Okay.
That was the first song.
That's
and
fun.
It was awesome.
Claim to fame.
Yeah, but
you remember.
And MTV has changed so much, of course, over the years.
Is it even a thing anymore?
I think it is. I can't tell you what the programming is, although I somewhat stumbled upon it the other day, and I guess I was it didn't like catch my attention, but I was a little bit like pleasantly surprised that they had changed some of their format. I didn't mind at all the period of time in the 90s when they went just like all reality TV.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
The real
and music
world.
videos.
And of course, the videos, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's fun.
My brother works in the Hollywood unions, and he started his career, and you would think it would be the big moneymaker would be like working on a movie.
Yeah.
It's not. Like right away I learned, like he's like, no, you do commercials and MTV videos.
Really?
And
that's the moneymaker.
That was the moneymaker because those were quick turnaround projects.
Yeah.
They usually were in and out in a day. Versus
I could see it.
he got offered Titanic.
No way.
And they started telling him like, yeah, you're going to be up in a bucket on a lift for 18 hours at a time. He's like, no, thanks.
Yeah, no. Is he still in the industry?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, lighting, video, sound. I mean, it's just...
That's so cool.
They just chase project after project, right? And there's lean years and there's good years. When it's a really good year, like I've been visited him, like he lives in Venice Beach.
Oh, wow.
Have
So
you've
really
been to Santa Monica?
out. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
You will ride up he's got bikes, these beach bikes. And
Yeah.
we'll ride from like Venice Beach down to Santa Monica on the boardwalk, which kind of is like more serpentine.
Yeah.
And it's just, that guy, that's the producer of this. And these are like, you
wow.
don't really go to the beach and just pass people, right? And he's just pointing out that's this person and that person.
Everybody's a somebody.
Everybody's a somebody.
Isn't that interesting?
But,
It's pretty cool.
And if things are going really, really well, you work like maybe 10 days a month, but when things are not going well,
Sign me up.
then you're working,
Sure. And
working
you
like
probably
crazy.
have to work really hard to get to that point
Yeah.
where you're only working 10 days a month. Yeah.
So let's get into, you get married and there's a story here and I want to bring this up. This is the first
Let's
thing I want
go.
because your dad wrote something.
Aw. Let's see. What did my dad write?
He writes something called Father of the Bride Reflections.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a few reasons I want to bring this up. So here it is, and we're going to go picture in picture. And so number one, let's see. I actually need to look at this screen. I'm wearing glasses now. I'm getting old. Like I can't. If I wake up in the morning and I look at my phone, I have no idea what's on. I have to go grab glasses.
That's what 4 kids will do, right?
So originally, you guys were going to get married in June of 2012, and I know he was considering, going. He's active duty, and he's possibly going to get deployed, and all this kind of stuff. And your dad writes about it.
Yep.
And so it's funny. He says 2 days after Thanksgiving Day, and I'm presumably this is 2010.
Yes.
Nancy, David, and I. So who's Nancy?
My mom, my brother.
David so David, your brother, plus the 2 dogs. What are their names? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, who was alive at that time? I don't know. I don't even know. Lucy and Sandy, maybe.
Okay. We're driving back from PA, discussing plans for Jennifer's wedding. So everyone was in Pennsylvania for Thanksgiving?
No, I was in Austin with Jamie and my in-laws for Thanksgiving.
Okay, that's right, because that's where his parents are from.
Yep.
The next day, Erica approached us about changing her wedding date. The next day. So this is now the day after Thanksgiving,
Yes.
right? Get through all the festivities.
Friday.
So you already had this on your mind, and you're like, I've got to break it to him. I've got to talk it.
No, I didn't
You
have it
didn't?
on my mind.
Really?
It came up Thanksgiving.
Okay, I'll finish it, and then you explain
Yes.
it. He's like, are you kidding? 7 weeks? Are you kidding? Did you consider Vegas? Are you kidding? He says
His
it 3
dry
times.
humor.
We had a long talk with her, and then with Jamie by conference call. The reasoning was sound, and we gave our blessing. And then you skip forward to the next paragraph. A beach wedding was decided as a perfect place because most folks had to travel anyway, and why not pick a destination that was good excuse for a long weekend getaway? Jamie is also scheduled to go overseas, so we really wanted to make it special as special as possible.
Yes.
So my first question, though, is your dad a blogger, a writer? Is this like totally a departure from the norm for him?
No, it's not a departure at all. My dad is an engineer and so incredibly smart.
Okay.
He's very smart. He has a very dry sense of humor, and he is a good writer. He's a good communicator. So.
Okay. So what was the reasoning? Walk us through why you have to, I guess it's only 7 weeks away, but it's also 18 months away from the original plan.
Yeah.
Right?
My husband had been trying to convince me to do a courthouse wedding.
Okay.
Because in the military, if you're not married, you're a stranger.
No benefits.
There's no benefits. There's no you're just no one. And so this was 2010 at the time when the war in Iraq and Afghanistan was really hot. I mean, casualties left and right. It was a very real possibility that he would lose his life overseas. I mean, that sounds like so blunt, but I mean, that was the reality, right? And so we had a conversation about, hey, if something happens, because I was getting very anxious, like you're leaving in 5 months, you're leaving in 5 months. And he's like, if something happens, things are not going to look good for you. Like you're not going to be notified. It'll be like you were a stranger to me.
Yeah.
And that was really devastating because we were engaged to be married. Like, how could this guy I've walked through college with, his West Point career, and was now going to spend my life with, if something happens to him, I'm nobody. So we should get courthouse married. Well, I didn't want to get courthouse married. I felt like it took away from like our experience of having our big wedding. But when he painted that picture, we thought, you know what? Let's just have a courthouse wedding. So we called my parents, told them, they whacked out because they were also like, hold on. Does that like take away from this wedding we're like paying for, all the things. And then we thought, you know what? Let's just have a wedding. Let's just do it. And we planned it in 7 weeks. One of my very best friends, her sister had just got married at the beach. So we kind of had a little model of how it could go. We invited 110 people. I think 101 came. And it was literally the dream wedding I didn't know I dreamt of. And so, yeah, it was awesome.
Now, which beach did you choose?
It was Seacrest Beach, which is on 30A, which 30A is much busier now than it was back then. But we rented a big $4,000 beach house. Everybody stayed. I mean, all the bridesmaids and family, we stayed together. And it was a picture perfect Saturday in January. We just picked President's Weekend because in the military, you get off on a Friday and Monday.
Yeah.
So he flew in from his training in Arizona and we got married.
And then when did you get to go on honeymoon?
Not till he got back in June of 12.
Wow.
Yeah. So we got married in January. He left in April. And then when he got back, a year later, then we went on a honeymoon.
Yeah.
So
now, so in the meantime, and actually my buddy, I'll just tell you a quick story. Have you ever been to the Outer Banks, North Carolina?
No, I haven't.
The first time I went, I kind of grew up favoring like Myrtle Beach. And again,
I've been to Myrtle
Beach. Now, I love Alabama. Okay. And this is not I miss the beaches. Yeah. No, it's just, now the Gulf Coast is going to be our beaches. And we're excited about that.
Sure, yeah.
But growing up, I didn't like the Virginia beaches or the Delaware, Maryland beaches because they were too crowded and the water wasn't really that warm and it was full of jellyfish. Yeah. So we discovered at some point, my aunt takes us to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Like, this is great. So and I really liked I liked the commercialization of the beach. Sure. I like Myrtle has a roller coaster or like a amusement park. Yes. And I've been there. And all these restaurants, and it's really grown. Well, Outer Banks has like none of that. Oh, okay. It's just homes. It's
quieter.
Now when you become adult though, and you have your own kids, you start to appreciate that type of thing. But anyway, he gets married in 2006. I'm not the best man, but I'm in the wedding party. Same thing, even though it wasn't 7 weeks away. Yeah. But it was the perfect take your family, enjoy the beach, but for like 2 days of your trip, we need you to be a part of the wedding festivities. Right. And it was awesome.
It was.
And then we fell in love with the Outer Banks and we started going there for not about every year, but we would rent the big house, with the families and experience that.
My sisters-in-laws have always talked about retiring in the Outer Banks.
Oh, really?
They love it there. They absolutely love it.
I don't know if I could live there year round.
A little cold sometimes.
It gets a little cold. So so you said it was picture perfect weather. Are we talking like 60s or 70s? Does
75
it get warmer?
sunny, dolphins jumping for real behind us on the ceremony site. It was perfect. And then we went up, everybody just walked up to the house and ate and drank and had a ball. And I was the first one of all my friends to get married. So everybody came and it was a ball.
Who was your maid of honor?
My sister.
Okay. Yeah. Jennifer.
Jennifer, yeah.
And she was already married by then?
She got married 4 months later.
Was she upset?
We put my parents in the poorhouse. I don't know how they did it.
Was she in any way upset that you somewhat upstaged her?
I'm sure that was never really vocalized, but of course planning a wedding is very intense. And so I think there were times it was like, hold on, I'm having to like put my planning on hold to like accommodate this queen bee over here who's getting married when I'm trying to plan my wedding. So there was never an expression of that per se, but I think just irritation sometimes of like, hold on, I was trying to plan my wedding. But our weddings were so polar opposite because she had a very, very beautiful traditional wedding in a church with a country club reception. So I think because they were so different, and then we immediately, and she was married or marrying my husband's best friend.
Oh, that's
so
right.
she very much understood the military purpose, and was excited for us. So,
are you guys still? Well, you're still sisters. Are they still best friends? The husbands?
Oh yeah, they're really close.
Okay.
They actually moved. So he's out of active duty too. They live a mile from here.
Oh wow.
They moved back to Madison last year. Again, because it's just good opportunities here. He's got a fabulous job working at a plant. She's got my niece and nephew, and they're doing great.
Okay, so he deploys.
Yes.
And you get to do your honeymoon when he comes back.
Yep.
Where do you go?
Costa Rica.
Nice.
Because we, if you can't tell, I love to adventure. We just,
I can tell.
Like, yeah,
I've
we
seen
are
your
not,
Instagram.
Yeah, we are not sit still people. Like just sitting on a beach and doing nothing all day. I wish I could like that. I just got to move. So what about you? Do you feel like you can sit on a beach all day, or do you like to adventure?
Well, if we're prepared.
Yeah.
So no, I get so like when we have a family vacation, to me the ideal day on the beach is you bring a cooler of food.
Yeah.
You have something for like all day, right? Or actually my preference is there's a little restaurant on the beach.
I like that too.
That if you need something, you go get it. Or I want the fish sandwich or the fish tacos or a cheeseburger, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And not have to like cross a road.
It's easy.
Easy. That's my preference.
Yeah.
Now my wife might be more just happy with packing sandwiches for the day, and that's fine.
Just relaxing.
But we take everything. So you've got the 10 by 10 pop-up tent. You've got enough chairs. We play paddleball. And
that's fun.
And paddleball, we do more of like we try to set like the Guinness Book of Records. We don't know what it is, but like what's the number of times we can volley?
Yeah.
And
you're competitive.
Yeah, just kind of like you pick a partner, whoever it is, and you end up like, let's see if we can get 150 in a row.
That's
but
fun.
then you play in the water, and then you dry off, and then it's just like, then you go on a walk. And then if you have really small kids, you collect seashells. And you're just out there all day.
Right.
The reality is by like day 2 or day 3, you're going to be totally fried, and you're going to need a downtime. But yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
But I'm not much of a reader unless there's a book I just really, really get into.
Yeah.
Because I'm just busy myself with many other things, and it's just hard for me to sit down and read.
We're talkers.
Yeah, we're just talkers and preparers and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I enjoy it, but I can't just sit there. No. And I can't just lay there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can lay and try to get some sun, but I'm going to be active. I'm going to be the first one to be like, okay, I'm going to go to the store because we're out of sodas. Who needs something?
Yeah.
And I'm just busy like running errands. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
But I do love the beach.
That's fun.
I
love
do.
the beach.
So then he comes back and you guys go to Clarksville, Tennessee.
Yep.
And
we actually bought a house in Clarksville before he deployed because we're crazy.
Okay. And then you were teaching high school.
Yep.
And I forgot what your degree was, as much research as I did. I can't remember what was it? Secondary
education and English.
Okay.
Yes.
Secondary. I wanted to say elementary, but secondary education. So you go in and you're teaching high school.
Yep.
Not middle school.
I taught middle school here for 1 year.
1 year.
And then I taught high school. Yep, at a public school.
You taught middle school while he was away.
Before we got married.
Before you got married.
Yep.
Okay.
So when we got married, I was teaching at St. John's, actually, middle school kids.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
It was fun. It was a great job.
And so then I know I read somewhere your approach to teaching in Tennessee, but how did you? I mean, what was that like? I mean, I know the kids it's very different now, and you probably never thought you would say that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're the type that I'm not the one who would want to go back and relive my high school over. But what was that experience like?
It was hard. I felt like for me as a teacher, I had to pick because I taught a core subject, 11th grade English, where what you learn in 11th grade English, you don't learn in 10th grade or 12th grade. You learn it and you move on. And you are learning how to write. And also taking the ACT and SAT. It's serious stuff. And so I felt like I had to pick between, am I their friend? and the cool teacher, and I give them a pass, and this is just where they can come and flop and be welcomed, and they can take their problems off their shoulders that surely they have going on at home? Or are they learning? And it seems when I say it out loud that there should be a middle ground, and I tried to find it, but typically it was really hard because they're kids, and it was tough.
Did you feel like they were very different than like your senior class and your senior class experience?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was just a very different school than Bob Jones. I mean, Clarksville is in general. So it was tough. I didn't feel like I had great support from the parents or families. And
did you build a rapport with the kids, you think?
I built a good rapport with the kids. I loved them dearly. I was also the cheerleading coach.
Yeah.
So I was really busy. I loved the kids. I still love those kids, even though they're like adults with their own kids now. But I also took it very seriously that I was teaching them skills that I wanted them. I was invested in their future, and I wanted to teach them. And so, according to the state of Tennessee, I was a 5-star teacher. Like, they actually gave out stars for meeting all these things and how the kids grew from the time, which sounded like this great accolade. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm not any of, I don't know if I'm anyone's favorite teacher. Does that make sense? I don't know if anyone's going to look back and say, well, I know Miss Despain cared, but like not that much. I don't know. It was this weird thing, which for me, I'm a very compassionate person. I would want those kids to know that I loved them, but I felt like I had to pick. It was hard.
Now, you may have just mentioned this and I missed it, but have any of them been in contact with you since?
Oh yeah, I'm Facebook friends with all of them.
And have they said something to the effect of, thank you for pushing me, or thank you for being a hard ass at times and not really letting us off easy? No,
not really. I mean, we keep in touch, and we comment on each other's stuff and sometimes joke about shenanigans from their high school times. But no, I don't think any of them like resent me or anything. Like, I tried to be a great teacher.
No,
and love them.
The other way around, where they're like, wow, you had such an influence on me. I didn't realize it at the time. I really.
Yeah, no. I mean, none of them have really come back to say that. So.
Well, here's your cheerleading coach little
my
bio.
Goodness.
Coach Despain. So how does that feel to hear that title?
It was a 1 year and done type of thing.
So this little bio that they do there, and
she
was hired at West Creek High School to teach 10th grade English and coach cheerleading.
Yep.
She was a cheerleader of her own in middle school and high school.
Yep.
And there's where I found the thing with an all-star team for 2 years.
Yes. Yep. I think that was 8th and 9th grade. Yep.
Yeah, I was talking to, my son just graduated James Clemens.
Yeah.
And I was talking to, who was I talking to about? It might have been Joey. Where I was like, Joey, I don't remember that many kids having a 5.0. No one had a 5.0 when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe the number of kids who had a 4.0. And the question I had for him, and it wasn't like we were looking for an answer, but was like, are we being too lenient? Like, if I remember one time I didn't do summer reading. I was supposed to go into an AP government class. I was playing football. I went to Myrtle Beach with my buddies. I went to Ocean City, Maryland with my buddies. I didn't read the book.
Right.
And I come in the first day, and the teacher's like, well, you have until Friday.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, that's not going to happen.
First
game's Friday. We've got practice every day.
Priorities.
So I come in, and I'm like, I didn't read it. And she goes, okay, well, if you read it by the end of September, I'll give you at least a D+ on it.
Yeah, something.
I didn't do it, and then I dropped out.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, like, because my kids, I'm saying that because it's probably right there. My kids, it's like there'll be all these late work. The teacher will be like, hey, so Dylan hasn't turned in his assignments, and and it's like this long list. And then I'm like, what's going on? It was due last week. Oh, I'll get it done. And then presumably he turns them in, and he still passes, and it's not D's. You know what I mean? So I just wonder, like, is there that pressure on the teachers? Like, hey, we got to get these kids' grades up. We got to get scores are one thing. You can't sit there and take the test for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can try to prepare them, but
I'd be curious.
I just found it to
day
be
and age,
very interesting, the number of but kids, you know what? I saw a kid. I was talking to a kid yesterday.
Yeah.
He's 9 years old. He's playing chess on his phone.
Okay, 9.
Okay, he's playing chess. And I said to him, have you ever played checkers? And he looked at me like I was an alien. He's like, I've never heard of checkers.
But he's playing chess.
So maybe these kids are just smarter.
Just smarter.
You know, they've grown up in an era where you can
tech
find
era.
out anything now.
True.
Do you even need to go to college? I could probably go to college on my phone.
Anything.
Right.
We didn't go to college to do what we're doing.
No.
Right?
Yeah, and I think sometimes with college is way overrated when it's like, okay, I went into a class. We had a book that the school decided to buy from somewhere, some textbook. We did some assignments. Sometimes they made it easier. We read this, we read that. Like, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
Does that mean I left like that much smarter?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know, I've wondered that too. Like, do you need to do college anymore? I do think one argument, personal opinion for college, is that college, it's an experience.
Mm-hmm.
You learn a lot of life in between graduating high school and being a full-fledged adult. Kind of is this middle ground where you just, honestly, I mean, you probably make more mistakes in college with all the things than you do any other time.
Yeah.
Which you need to make mistakes to figure out adulthood. But also it teaches you discipline,
Yep.
which is necessary. Discipline is a huge part. Discipline and consistency and just showing up and balancing your own schedule and being self-motivated are huge components to success, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think you learn a lot of those skills in college.
I was going to say exactly the same points as far as it just prepares you.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you mentioned at the very beginning, I think we were recording when I asked about your workout, and you say you wake up at 4:27, you hit the snooze for 8 minutes.
Right.
Okay, well, you may not have been waking up at 4:27 at Alabama, but you probably you were developing a routine.
Right.
And it could have been 6 a.m., it could have been 7 a.m., it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you had, and that's the most important thing. Can you overcome being alone, away from your family, having total freedom to do whatever you want to do? Can you stay in the lane, right, and still go to class and get grades because that's why you're there, right? Yeah. Or do you just go totally out of control and next thing you know you're back at home or you're working because you weren't able to deal with the structure and the discipline that is required. And so I'm with you. I think that that's really what it's there, is to prepare you for life and the career, right?
Unfortunately,
whatever the
it's
career
so expensive these days.
Well, that there's that
like
too.
there's that problem. They've about outpriced people.
That sours it.
Yeah, it really sours it for sure, which just makes it unattainable for a lot more people, which is hard, but that's another subject.
Yeah. All right, so now I'm really interested in Rachel's challenge.
Oh, my heart.
So Rachel Scott was the first victim on the Columbine shooting.
Shot and killed.
Shot and killed. April 20th, 1999.
99. You remember?
I do. I don't remember what I was doing that day necessarily, but I do remember it being what the Oklahoma City bombing was on the April 19th, 1995. And then there was something else that happened on April 19th. But, and so that to me was like, oh my gosh, what's going on with late April. But
Hitler's birthday.
Is it really?
It's April 20th.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
So the idea here is the father of her,
Daryl,
starts a foundation in a way, and she had a lot of great qualities. And you know what? Actually, let me do this first. Let's read from something that's on their website.
She's amazing.
Let me pull this up. No, here it is. Okay, so this is Meet Rachel. Here we go. Rachel Scott, she was born in Denver in 1982, and she was the middle of 5 children. Let's skip down to the bolded words, where she was a journal writer.
She was.
And at one point, they go back through her things, and she writes this while she is in middle school, I believe. I want to reach out to those with special needs because they are often overlooked. I want to reach out to those who are new in school because they don't have any friends yet. And I want to reach out to those who are picked on or put down by others. And so then that leads to a challenge. There's 5 things, and we'll get to that in a second, but where you were hired and went across the country
all over
to speak as part of Rachel's challenge.
Yes.
How in the world did you first, how did you come aware of this program or
Yeah.
this nonprofit, this effort?
Yeah, so it's crazy. Columbine happened when I was only 11, but for some reason I was so interested in it.
Okay.
Which I mean probably like scared my parents. Why is she so interested? I don't know why I was interested in it. So making a super long story short, I was teaching at St. John's, like I mentioned, and we were going on a Catholic educators retreat to New Orleans with 5,000, other Catholic educators. And so this was April of 2011.
Okay.
And part of you could pick all your sessions, right? Well, there's, probably 100 sessions because there's 5,000 educators. And one of the sessions was to go hear Daryl Scott speak himself about Rachel and Rachel's Challenge. But I was like, I'm not going to go to that one. I need to go to one that will help me be an English teacher. Mm-hmm. So I signed up for the English teacher one. I walked in. It was so incredibly boring. All I wanted to do was go hear Daryl. Which is so unlike me. I walked out and I sat in the last row of the convention center and listened to him and like cried my eyes out. And then I waited for many hundreds of people to leave. And then I don't know what came over me, but I walked up to him and just said, basically how moved I was. I knew a lot about his daughter, and I don't know if there is any opportunity to be a part of Rachel's Challenge. But if there is, I just want to be a part of it. I just felt so strongly about the message. He took my information. I'm never going to hear from him again. Like, who's this crazy girl just walked up to me crying? 2 days later, his secretary calls me. They sent me a script. We did Zoom stuff back and forth on my lunch break at St. John's. My husband's already deployed at this point. It's probably why I went up and talked to him, because my husband had only been gone 2 weeks. So I was feeling very vulnerable at 23 years old.
Yeah.
And I flew out. I was hired. I will never forget at the end of our Zoom or whatever it was at the time, Skype, they were like, well, it goes without saying that you're hired. And I was like, my life just changed in that very moment. And a month later, I was on a flight and spent the next year as a presenter of their family's story. There was about 30 of us, and we ran around full-time, sharing the story of Rachel's Challenge.
So you ended whatever teaching contract you were under.
Because I was moving to Tennessee anyway.
Okay.
I was ready, even though Jamie was deployed, I was ready to go on and move to the duty station and get on. So we had already bought a starter home that I was going to move into as soon as my sister's wedding was over.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I was free to run around and jet set for a year because my husband's in Afghanistan. So.
So here you are in Lapeer County, Michigan.
Oh my gosh! Get out! There I am.
And I believe it's in Michigan. Oh. And so in the second paragraph, Rachel's Challenge is an anti-bullying program that was started in memory of Rachel Joy Scott. And how ironic, right? That her middle name was Joy.
Oh yeah.
So you go down to the challenges.
Yeah.
And so the 5 challenges are: number 1, eliminate prejudice by looking for the best in others. Number 2, dare to dream by setting goals and keeping a journal. Number 3, choose your influences. Mm-hmm. Number 4, use kind words. And number 5, start a chain reaction with family and friends.
Yeah, wow, that's so cool to see that again.
So you're getting hundreds of thousands showing up for these messages? For these assemblies, if you will?
Yeah, it was school presentations. So we would have entire schools in one presentation. Okay. So you're looking at anywhere from...
A big assembly is what we used to call it.
1,500 to, 3,000 kids in an assembly. And then we would do presentations for the community in the evening. So because this was so heavy that kids would go home and then parents would come back in the evening, because we had... action points that we wanted kids to take. Mm-hmm. Really anybody that listened to it after the assembly. So at least parents could understand what their kids heard, help them process, and then, do those points of action.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And so you're like, at that point, 12 years removed from Columbine.
Yeah. And
obviously it's never going to be gone from anybody's memory.
Yeah.
But what a life-changing experience for you.
It was an incredible message of Rachel's story. I mean, her life was not in vain. because of, I mean, she was such a remarkable young person.
Yeah.
And what she left behind physically. So it just made sense for them to tell her story, which happened organically. And so to be able to share that story with other people was something I believed in. And it also at the same time helped me hone my skills for speaking and showed me that if you care about what you're speaking about, you could be really good at it.
Yeah.
And it impacts other people.
Did they, when you approached them,
Yeah.
were there a lot of questions related to, have you done some public speaking? Are you okay, like in front of groups, or they just...
Well, that was why I had to take a script and showcase my speaking. And
Yeah.
then we had a very extensive week-long training, which was one of the hardest weeks because it's no joke. And then you go on a trip where they have someone with you and they critique you. And so,
I see.
but you know, I learned a lot about responsibility. You don't fly across the country to oversleep your alarm when there's 3,000 people waiting in a school auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, I had to grow up really quick in order to fulfill those obligations, which was an incredible task for me and something I rose to, but wasn't easy.
Yeah. Just one other thing she wrote. She writes in a I'll just pull it up so you can see it too. She writes, I have this theory that if one person can go out of their way to show compassion, then it will start a chain reaction of the same. People will never know how far a little kindness can go.
I could still recite that. I could still do the whole thing.
And that was part of the script.
Yeah. It was part of her journal.
And part of that for you was the power of the pause and a dramatic effect, right? As you're telling a story.
Right. For sure. Yeah, true story.
So cool.
It was really cool. Her brother, Craig, who is still a friend, as he's hiding under a desk in the library, his friend was shot next to him. And it was a racially motivated reason that they killed his best friend next to him. So, you know, meeting someone who was his life was forever changed. And so getting to get to know him just made it very, very real for me. So
is it, again, you've written a lot. You started as a blogger. Is it difficult at times emotionally with some of the subjects and stuff that you cover?
I am so passionate about sharing people's stories. I think everybody I look at businesses and it's like, that's not just a donut shop. Like, that's not just a clothing boutique or a battery store. There are real people who made a decision to do what they're doing, and it stems from somewhere. And so when you view businesses that way and look at their life experiences that led to that decision, it really humanizes a business, and it just humanizes people that you see. And often they're born from struggles. And I love to share those stories.